1, 2. Good.
One, two. 1, 2.
Good to go.
Oh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And I take this opportunity to welcome you back to our lesson this week. And if it's okay with you, we shall continue from where we left. And as I can remember, during our first topic, our first lesson, we just started with the introduction part of the topic. We revised concerning the definitions, the advantages, disadvantages, and also the meaning of some terms that was, for instance, from governments and all those. And now I take this opportunity to request you that we continue from where we left. That is concerning the sources of history. Sources of history and information. I'm a source of information, sorry, on history and government. And if you can remember very well, last time you were introduced to sources of information in history and government, whereby you are told they are classified into 3 major categories, and that is the unwritten, or the one before writings, as some can call it. And then we have the written and the electronic sources. And therefore, I said this refers to historical information. That is now, sorry, that is if we start with the unwritten. Unwritten, the definition is that it refers to historical information which is not recorded in writings. Ndio tumesema ni unrecorded history. So you can just note that one. Unwritten sources, this refers to historical information which is not recorded in writing. It refers to historical information which is not recorded in writing. Which is not recorded in writing. Then we said unwritten sources of historical information, they include oral tradition. Examples of this unwritten historical information includes oral tradition, linguistics, anthropology, archaeology, paleontology, and genetics. Examples of the unwritten information includes, we have tradition, we have oral tradition. Yeah, we have said we have the first one as oral tradition, linguistics, anthropology, or the one said we have archaeology, paleontology, and genetics. I hope with that one we are okay. Then the first one, oral tradition, you can remember, or you need to remind yourself the definition, whereby we said it refers to the practice of handing down historical information by word of mouth from one generation to another. Oral tradition is the passing of information by a word of mouth. That word should be there. It's the key word. Passage of information by the word of mouth. By the word of mouth from one generation to another. Passage of information by the word of mouth from one generation to another. And then we said, in the same, if you can remember very well, these forms are very important source of historical information, especially where exists an illiterate society who might not be able to read. And then we said, oral tradition includes, some of the examples of the oral tradition sources includes hello, can you guys hear me? Yeah, I've said the examples includes folktales. We have the first example as folktale. These examples include folktales, proverbs. Yeah, those who are noting down, the ones that I'm waiting for. So the first example of our tradition is folktale, proverbs, songs, and stories. We have said the first one is folktale, folktales, proverbs, songs, and stories. Folktales, proverbs, songs, and stories. So the first one is folktale, proverbs, and stories. Then saying that then we said that, sorry for that, the small technical issue. We said stories, proverbs, folktale, and stories were told to a younger, are told to a younger generation and are very instrumental in the passing of information from one generation to the other. Are very essential, are instrumental in the passing of information from one generation to the other. For example, a song about the struggle for independence in Kenya, which passes very important information to the younger generation who may not yet had been born at that time, who may not yet have been born at that time. Now, in preparation also for the exam, you also need to know about the advantages and disadvantages of using oral tradition as a source of information. Advantages and disadvantages of using oral tradition as a source of information. I will very quickly take you through the advantages. I've just listed 5 advantages and 5 disadvantages. There's 5 advantages and 5 disadvantages. So let me very quickly go through them. The first advantage is that oral tradition hands over historical facts. Oral tradition hands over historical facts. Oral tradition of historical information. Oral tradition hands over historical information. Saying oral tradition hands over historical information. Oral tradition hands over historical information. Oral tradition hands over historical facts from one generation to another. Hands over historical facts from one generation to another. Hands over historical facts from one generation to another in the absence of written records. We have said oral tradition hands over historical facts from one generation to another in the absence of Number two, we have one that goes, it is, the other advantage is that it's the best source of historical information since tumesema it's the best source of historical information since even the illiterate can learn, since even the illiterate can learn their history using oral tradition. Number three, it is also a form of entertainment. It is a source of a form of entertainment. For example, through songs, it's a form of entertainment. For example, through songs, folk tales, stories, and proverbs, people get entertained. We have said it's a form of entertainment. For instance, through songs. Another one, it complements other sources. It complements other sources of information. 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 Complements other sources of information. And the last one, but not the least, is that the source of information is captivating, especially, we have said, the source of information is captivating, especially if it is narrated by a person who participated. We have said the source of information is captivating, especially if it's narrated by a person who participated in the event himself. It's captivating, especially, we have said, the source of information is captivating, especially if, we have said, the source of information is captivating, especially if narrated by a person who participated in the event himself. For instance, for example, an ex-World War II veteran, for example, an ex-World War II veteran, ex-soldier who participated in World War II, for instance, an ex-soldier who participated in World War II, for example, an ex-World War II soldier who is narrating about the war, who participated and is narrating about the war.
Can you repeat the second point?
The second point?
Can you repeat the second point? I did not get it.
Okay, the second point I've said, it is the best source of historical. It is the best source of historical information. It is. Can you get me, Monene? Miles, can you get me? Miles, can you hear me? Miles?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Oh, I'm saying it is the best source of historical information since even the illiterate can learn their history using oral tradition. Can you hear me, Miles? Miles, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Have you gotten the answer, the point?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, now have you gotten the fifth one?
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to the disadvantages. Disadvantages. Are you there in the disadvantages? Are we okay? The disadvantages, guys? Miles? Miles, can you hear me?
Yes, we can continue.
Now, let's continue, guys, with the disadvantages. Now, to the disadvantages, we just note, let me just give you 5 or so that at least, guys, make sure you have added 2. Do some researches through those revision books and the textbooks that we gave you. Add at least 2 in each point, in each side I give you. Now, the disadvantages, let's remind ourselves very quickly, is that the first one, the truth and correctness of oral traditions become unreliable. The truth and correctness, the truth and correctness of oral traditions become unreliable, especially when the narrator deliberately conceals, especially when the narrator deliberately conceals some information or lies. Conceals some information or lies. Conceals some information or lies, whereby people tend to conceal their failures while taking, tumesema where people tend to conceal their failures while talking so much about their success. Tend to conceal their failures while talking, to conceal their failures and talk much about their success. Then the second one is that information can be exaggerated. Information can be exaggerated. Information can be exaggerated. Information can be exaggerated as they are transmitted by elders. Information can be exaggerated as they are transmitted by elders to successive generations. Another one is that some information, another point is that some information or facts may be forgotten. Some information or facts may be forgotten or omitted.
since oral traditions depends, tumesema some information may be forgotten or omitted since oral tradition depends heavily on human, since oral tradition depends heavily on human memory, depends heavily on human memory. Uendelee useme this makes the information passed unreliable. 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 Another point is that dates of information may be lacking. Dates of information may be lacking. Dates of information may be lacking. Kumbuka kwa oral tradition mtu anapitisha with the word of mouth from one generation to another. Kwa hivyo anaweza sahau the exact date ama kuzifuatanisha the chronological way how events followed each other. Tumesema dates may be, dates of information may be lacking. Uendelee useme the source may not give correct chronology of events. Tumesema the source may not give correct chronology of events because it depends on human memory. Because it depends on human memory. Because it depends on human memory. Another point ni kwamba it is an expensive method. 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 It is an expensive method as one has to pay for the information. As one has to pay for the informant's transportation information and the informant's transportation. For one has to pay for the information and the informant's transportation. Informant ni yule anakuja kukupa information. Can you guys hear me? Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, if you guys can hear me, let's continue. We were on the disadvantages na nilikuwa napeana ya mwisho nimesema the last one but not the least is that it is an expensive method as one has to pay for the informant's transportation. As one has to pay for the informant's transportation. Informant ni yule anakuja kukupea the information now. Expensive as one has to pay for the informant's transportation. Has to pay for the informant's transportation. Has to pay for the informant's transportation. As one has to pay for the informant's transportation. Lunch, informant's transportation, lunch, and informant's transportation, and accommodation. Transportation and accommodation. Good humor. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, we were in the last one. Sorry for that. We have said it's an expensive method, as one has to pay for the information, informants transportation, lunch and accommodation. Informants has one has to pay for the informants transportation, accommodation, and also lunch. Now let's go to the linguistics. Linguistics. Can you guys hear me? Hello, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
No.
You can't hear me?
Sure, we can't.
Sorry, microphone yangu ndio iko na some problems. Let me try and fix it. You guys now hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Apollo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that's good. Jero, can you hear me?
Yes, but could you be a bit louder?
Apollo, can you hear me well? Apollo? Monene?
He's muted.
But a bit louder.
Can you hear me? Now you can hear me. Am I loud? Monene?
Yes.
Monene, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now let me be a bit louder. I hope there now you can hear me. Okay, now I've said the last point ni kwamba nimesema it's an expensive method as one has to pay for the informant's transportation, lunch, and accommodation. Is that okay? Manuel?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sawa. Nimesema ya mwisho, it's expensive as one has to pay for what?
The informant's transportation, accommodation, and lunch.
That's awesome. Let's continue now. We are now tackling linguistics. From the word languages, you actually need to know linguistics refers, is it okay now? Linguistics refers to the scientific study of languages. Underline the word scientific. at the back of your mind. As you are asked anything concerning linguistic, you actually need to define it as the scientific study of language. The keyword is scientific. That one will be used to mark even your KCSE. Scientific study of languages. Scientific study of languages. Scientific study of languages. Now, let's continue. You actually need to remember that you said historical linguistic is the study of languages as it changes the course as it changes in the course of time, as it changes in the course of time. It seeks to trace the principles of language change and establish the current genealogical classification of a particular language, and said also, such a study helps in the discovering of language forms, content, vocabulary, and historical experiences of the people who speak the language. And also we said distribution of language and relationship between languages is important to the historian. People who speak related languages may be assumed to have a common origin, be connected, or had been in close contact at some time in the past. Variation between languages of the same family can show how long ago the break of contact occurred. Now, in short, what we meant there is that linguistic deals with the scientific study of language, whereby we are going to study about language of a certain community and also how they interacted. Now, through linguistic, we are able to know if a certain community is sharing a common language with the other one, and therefore we ought to know that they might be in a way closely related or have had a common origin, ancestor. Now, let me take you very quickly through the advantages. Advantages of linguistics. Advantages of linguistics. Advantages of linguistics. Ya kwanza ni kwamba through linguistics, facts can be obtained about the movement of people. Through linguistics, facts can be obtained about the movement of people and their relationship. Through linguistics, we have said, through linguistics, facts can be obtained about the movement of people and their relationships. Then from there, we go in and say, one minute, guys, 1 minute. Sorry for that. I hope you guys can hear me. I hope you guys can hear me. Okay. George Simo, can you hear me? George Simo? George Simo, can you hear me? George Simo? George, can you hear me? George?
Excuse me, teacher. Can you be louder, bitch?
Yeah. Can you hear me, George?
Yes.
Okay. I've said the first advantage is that through linguistics, facts can be obtained about the movement of people and their relationship. Have you gotten it?
Yes.
Okay. Tuendelee tuseme, such information helps experts to correctly group languages, according to language families. We've said such information helps experts to correctly group languages according to language families. Are we okay there? Are we okay? Are we okay? George? Number 2. Let's go to number 2. The second advantage is that it helps us understand communities better. It helps us understand communities better. It helps us understand communities better, as people with a common language may have a common origin. We've said it helps us understand communities better, as people with a common language may have common origin. As people with a common language may have common origin. And therefore, it is good for establishing, facts on origin, migration, and settlement. Origin, migration, and settlement. Origin, migration, and settlement. Another one is that linguistics complements other sources of historical information. We've said linguistics complements other sources of historical information. For example, language as a medium. Tumesema linguistics complements other sources of historical information. For example, language as a medium of communication. Helps those using oral tradition to gather information For example, language as a medium of communication helps those using oral tradition to gather information from various sources. The fourth one is that language has enabled historical linguistics to discover links. Language has enabled historical linguistics to discover links between different people we have said language has enabled historical linguistics to discover links between different people which were previously unknown. Which were previously unknown. E.g., it is, for example, it is now known that the Bantu, for example, it's now known that the Bantu, for example, it's now known that the Bantu had a common origin. It's now known that the Bantu had a common origin. For example, it's now known that the Bantu had a common origin and possibly spoke one language. We have said, for example, it's now known that the Bantu had a common origin and possibly spoke one language. However, due to the long periods of separation between various Bantu groups through migration, these groups may not understand each other's language today. Yeah, somebody said, I repeat, Lewell said, I repeat point number 3. I'm repeating point number 3. Tulisema kwa point number 3 ni kwamba linguistics complements other sources of historical information. For example, number 3, tulisema linguistics complements other sources of historical information. For example, language as a medium of communication helps those using oral tradition to gather information from various sources. Linguistics complements other sources of historical information. For example, language as a medium of communication helps those using oral tradition to gather information from various sources. And our point number 5 is that linguistics helps in the dating of migration of people. Linguistics helps in the dating of the migration of people. As language drawn from apparent language, will change in a certain way. Tumesema as language drawn from apparent language will change in a certain way and rate through time. Uendelea in the same point useme, when comparing parent language with derived language, it is possible to know, tumesema, when comparing parent language with derived language, it's possible to know how long the derived language has independently, tumesema, when comparing the parent language with derived language, it is possible to know how long the derived language has independently, has been independently from the parent language. For example, Sheng language and Kiswahili, which is the parent language. For example, the Sheng language and Kiswahili, which is the parent language, that is. Mohammed says he can't hear it, so let me repeat this point. Okay, our last point nimesema, linguistics helps in dating the migration, dating of migration of people, helps in dating of the migration of people, helps in dating the migration of people, helps in dating the migration of people, as language drawn from parent language will change in a certain way, 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 and rate through time. Will change in a certain way and rate through time. Will change in a certain way. Tumesema will change in a certain way, will change in a certain way and rate through time. When comparing parent language with the derived language, it is possible, when comparing parent language with derived language, it's possible to know how long the derived language has independently, has been independent from the parent language, e.g. Sheng language and Kiswahili, 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 e.g. Sheng language and Swahili. E.g. the Sheng language and Kiswahili, e.g. Sheng language and Kiswahili. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Manuel? Manuel? Manuel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Have you gotten the last point?
Yes.
Okay. Let me give you very quickly the disadvantages.
Yes.
Let's go through the disadvantages, guys. Aya, kwa disadvantages ni kwamba it's time consuming. Time consuming. The first disadvantage is that it's time consuming. Ama useme learning a language takes a long time, therefore delaying acquisition of information. It is time consuming. Tumesema it's time consuming, therefore delaying acquisition of information. Therefore delaying the acquiring and acquisition of information. John Munene, can you hear me? John Munene? John Munene, can you hear me? John Munene? John Munene? John Munene, can you hear me? John Munene? Haya, tumesema it's time consuming, or learning a language takes a long time, therefore delaying acquisition of information. Number 2, there is a danger of omitting. There is a danger of omitting. There is a danger of omitting a word when translating a language. There is a danger of omitting a word when translating. There is a danger of omitting a word when. There is a danger of omitting a word when translating a language. There's a danger of omitting. There's a danger of omitting a word when translating a language. Uendelee useme, in the process of vital information about people's, in the same point tukasema, ndio, I'm repeating, sorry, the second point nimesema, there's a danger of omitting a word when translating a language. Alafu kwa kuexplain ndio tukasema, in the process of vital information about a people's history may be lost. 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 Another one is that, the third one is that, the third disadvantage or limitation ni kwamba some words may just be difficult to understand. Some words may 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 be difficult to understand. Another one is that inaccurate information can be passed. Inaccurate information can be passed. Inaccurate information can be passed on where wrong words are borrowed. Nasema inaccurate information can be passed on where wrong words are borrowed from other languages. Where wrong words are borrowed from other languages. Another one is that some languages have become archaic and irrelevant. Tumesema some words have become, some languages have become archaic and irrelevant, hence difficult to translate. Have become archaic and irrelevant, hence difficult to, hence difficult to translate. Another disadvantage is that misinterpretation of words may make them difficult. 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 Misinterpretation of words may make them difficult to understand. May make them difficult to understand. Misinterpretation of words may make them difficult to understand. Misinterpretation of words may make them difficult to understand. May make them difficult to understand. May make them difficult. May make them difficult to understand. Another one is that lack of original speakers. 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 Lack of original speakers in the language under study. Lack of original speakers in the language under study. Lack of original speakers in the language. Lack of original speakers in the language under study. Lack of original speakers. Lack of original speakers in the language under study limits research findings. Tumesema lack of original speakers. Lack of original speakers in the language under study limits research findings. Limits research findings. Limits research findings. Okay. I also remembered another one. Let's add this one. Let's add this one. Useme, another disadvantage ya linguistic ni kwamba one word may have different meanings. One word may have different meanings. One word may have different meanings. One word may have different meanings in different languages. One word may have different meanings in different languages. One word may have different meanings in different languages. One word may have different meanings in different languages, which can easily confuse a researcher. Which can easily confuse a researcher. Which can easily confuse a researcher. Which can easily confuse a researcher, which can easily confuse a researcher. 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 For example, I can give you a word that is common, maybe with the Kikuyu and the Luo. You have heard of the word nyoro. Nyoro, for example, the word nyoro. I'm giving just as an example. We have the word nyoro. For instance, the word nyoro. For example, the word nyoro. For example, tumesema, let me repeat that point ili nipatie an example. Tumesema one word may have different meanings in different languages. This can easily confuse a researcher, which can easily confuse a researcher. For example, the word nyoro in Kikuyu, for example, the word nyoro in Kikuyu means smooth. For instance, for example, the word nyoro in Kikuyu means smooth, while the same word in Luo means yesterday. The word nyoro in Kikuyu will mean smooth, but when you go to the Luos and you mention the word nyoro, it will mean yesterday. For example, the word nyoro means smooth in Kikuyu, and then when you go to the Luo, it means yesterday. Now, with me, I have a few. I'll have a few questions. Nitazipost hapo, and then you try to copy. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, as we provide our lesson, I'll paste a few questions, then we will just copy them and attempt on our own. I've just prepared a few questions for the whole topic. Topic 1, revision questions.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, Apollo?
Can you spell the word archaic?
Okay. The word archaic. It's A-R. I hope kuna mtu mwingine pia anaitaka. It's A-R-C-H. Are you okay there?
Yes.
A-R-C-H-A-I-C.
Okay, thank you.
So you're welcome, Apollo. Now, as I'm trying to sort the questions, let me share them with the group. Then we start to just go through them as you copy. So that now, with that one, because I've now tackled the linguistic, then the other one was oral tradition. Then I'll give some work concerning anthropology. Kwa hizo maswali bado, the questions are there on what is to be covered in that same thing. Then you will allow me to take you through archaeology very quickly, reviewing too of what we learned for archaeology. And then after that, through the questions that I've given, tutazitumia kutako, tutatumia whatever that we wrote to attempt those questions because they are important to us. And then, God willing, our next topic, next lesson, I will take you through the methods of dating fossils. And after taking you through the methods of dating fossils, tukijikumbusha, tutaenda kwa written sources, which is very fast. Kwa tutaenda kwa written sources, then tukimalizia written sources, tumalizane na introduction, then we go to early man. Early man, you actually need to remember, ama kitu mnafaa kuwa mnakumbuka. Hata sasa I'm sure you guys can remember, kwa Aleman mlisoma evolution. Then after kusoma evolution pale kwa Aleman, mukasema ali evolve from a simple creatures due to a complex of a what you can remember the definition. Then you remember the stages of evolution from the first one to the last one, zikifuatana vile ame evolve. Ukikumbuka hiyo in the same topic, you actually required to know those characteristics zenye zinakuja zikibadilika kwake, zenye amekuwa nazo na zinabadilika na vile zinabadilika. Ukijua hizo characteristics, then after kujua the characteristics zaman na vile zimeenda zikibadilika, na unajua hizo stages za evolution in that topic, unahitaji pia kujua mambo ya Stone Age periods, early, middle, late. Ukijua hizo Stone Age periods na vitu alifanya, you are good to go, ama that is what we will cover. And then after reminding ourselves concerning that, then tutaenda kwa culture. Culture, tujue what is culture. Yeah, tujue pale kwa culture tutajifunza mambo ya early, middle na hizo late Stone Age. Then from there, tutamalizia that topic number 2 by kujua mambo ya zile hiyo culture yenye nimemention. Tutapitia culture yake, mahali aliishi, kama ni religion, dwelling, vitu alivaa, hiyo ndio culture, the way of life. Then after that tutajiingiza sasa kutuawa topic, mambo ya development of agriculture. Maybe a few, not even a few, sure everybody has attempted kusoma mambo ya agriculture. Kwa hiyo topic ya agriculture, development ya agriculture, unafaa kujua what is agriculture. Ukijua agriculture ile ukulima ni nini, tujue mahali ilianza, ujue reasons za binadamu ku domesticate animals na some of those animals that were highly domesticated. Then after kujua hivyo, tujue mahali ilianzia na vile ilienda ikispread, factors that made it to spread easily, na zile challenges pia zilikuwa. And that's history. It's the best and simplest subject, so the only thing I can request you guys is just to revise, give it most of your time, isome, jienjoy, wacha tujibambe tupate A. So if it's okay with you, let me share those questions and then you copy. Now let's copy those questions that you can see there and attempt them. Yeah, I hope you guys can see them. Yeah, because of time, I would request you guys to screenshot the questions. Screenshot them all. Screenshot the questions. From question 1 to question 9, then from 9 to question... from 9 to question... You can take from 9 to question 18. Then from 18... Yes, from 18, the last one is question 20. So it's only 20 questions, and they are covering the whole introduction topic. As you can see up there, I've written Introduction to History and Government. And the objectives that I require you guys to cover. So tumesema the first one, question 1, ni umeambiwa ustate one limitation of using electronic as a source of history and government. So mahali penye nimekuambia state 1, please, you can at least give 5. Are we together? You can at least give 5. Please attempt and give 5 only. Only 5. Yes. Bravi?
Sir, I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
what do you mean by when a source of history is complementing other sources of history?
we mean that that source of history has to go hand in hand with the others. For instance, kama ni oral tradition, hata ukienda kwa zile electronic, we love to record, lazima tutarecord zile sauti. See, that's true.
Yes.
Now, from the fact that pale tuko kwa languages, lazima hiyo language iwe complement ama make up the others, imetumika tu mahali kwa the others. That's what we mean. To complement
okay.
Nile lazima itatumika mahali.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, can you guys, Bravi, can you see the questions?
Yes, I can.
The ones that I've shared, Sindo?
Yes.
Okay. You can maybe take the screenshots, or I take you through the questions very quickly.
So, okay, for those who cannot be able to take the screenshots, probably they're using laptops or something. So.
Okay, maybe now I will take you through the questions very quickly now. Okay, I guess those who are using the laptops, are they okay with can they be able to save it? Yeah, I guess if those who are using the laptop, once it's in the screen, you can try and click Control S. Control S. If you're using a laptop, please finger Control S and it will be able to save. It's Control then save, S for save. Yeah, somebody is saying that question 20 haionekani poa. So let's go down to question 20. Question 20 ndiyo hii. Question 20 nasema, identify the main source of information on prehistory. The main source of information on prehistory. The main source of information on prehistory.
Excuse me, Mwalimu, can you scroll
Yes.
up?
Kelvin, can you scroll up? Okay, let me start by Uko Ju. Let's start, everybody. Let's start from the first question. Then question 1 up to 9. In the question 1 to 9. I hope everybody can see them. Yes, Bravi? Bravi? Bravi?
Yes.
Is there a question? Now, hizo I hope kila mtu amepigia, kama ni screenshot, kama ni kusave ushafinya Control S. Let's now go to question 10 mpaka 18. Question 10 up to 18. Yeah, that is question 1. Okay, 10, sorry. Let's do this. Wacha ikuwe hivyo. Question 10 to 18 ndio hiyo. You can take screenshots and also save. Question 10 to 18. Question 10 to 18. Question 10 to 18. Inasoma, give the sources of information on history and government which deals with scientific analysis. Give the source of information on history and government which deals with scientific analysis on man's material culture. Hapo the keyword is material culture, the word culture, for easy remembrance of the answer. And then question 19 and 20, which are our last questions, zinasema, number 19 inasema, give one importance of studying government in Kenya, in Kenyan schools. So So you can just now, nimewaomba please, I'm kindly requesting, hata kama umeona nimeandika give one importance of studying government in Kenyan schools, I'm very sure it's not only one advantage ama importance. So please, for easy remembrance, let's attempt and give the maximum answers that you can. And the last one is that identify the main source of information on prehistory. The main source of information on prehistory. Information on prehistory. Yes, Brian? 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 Yes?
Are we going to submit this work to?
No, I've just given you for just revision.
Oh, and another question.
Yeah?
What if we want to add, like for example, a question asks says 1 mark, and we want to add like 5.
It's okay. That's why I've said,
Yeah.
even if I've just listed one, I've said identify one, or name one, you to cover mingi, ensure you give the maximum.
Okay.
Nimeset tu kwa haraka bila ku count marks. So that's why I've said, kama ni, for example, question 19, you don't need to give one.
Yes.
Sindio? Ziko mingi.
Yes.
So hapo wende utaangalia uone na kumbuka 7, ama unaangalia kwa kitabu like ziko 10 ama 7 ama 5. So pale unabadilisha 1 unasema 5, and then you try as much as you can to remember the 5, and then you list. It's for your revision. I've given the questions for revision.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, somebody has said only question 10 and 12. Question 10 to 12. Question 10 inasema, give 2 disadvantages of using written records as a source of African history, as a source of information in Africa. And then 11 inasema, identify 2 types of government. Mnakumbuka tulisoma 4. And then number 12 inasema, outline 3 characteristics of government. Now, hizo characteristics, please, they are not 3 only. So that's why nimesema, hata kama nimesema give 2, give 3, give the maximum that we have covered kwa syllabus for our easy. Because now maybe we might revise on 3, and then our time for KCSE upate umeulizwa 4. I can remember I think 5 characteristics are government. So give the maximum that we have covered. And with that, I thank you for your time, guys. Thanks for behaving well. Please, let's stay home, stay safe. Please stay home, stay safe, take good care of others, and also ensure that umesaidia wazazi at home, and tusome kwa bidii. Are we okay?
Yes.
Nawaomba tusome kwa bidii na tukae nyumbani, to stay safe. And cheers to everyone. Yeah, anybody with any comment? Anybody with any comment?
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, I'm asking the characteristics of government. What are the characteristics of a government?
Okay, now because I've unmuted everyone, let's see. Nani anaweza kukumbuka tulisema?
Legitimacy.
Rule of law.
Legitimacy, good. Tom.
Sovereignty. Something like that.
Sovereignty.
A set of
Remember
rules.
sovereignty. Good. Then, Brian, can you remember it?
Oh, but there's a difference here.
Yeah. I guess now you can remember at least two.
Law
If you have given
enforcement.
5, zinakuwa 5, zinakuwa 5. So ensure you have given the 5. Ziko kwa kitabu. Ukiangalia pale kwa government, immediately after
Jere.
defining what is the
Boy,
government,
do you know
one
me?
is. So I'm requesting you guys to stay home, stay safe, and some kwa bidii. So
Pull
have
up.
a
Excuse me.
nice. Yes, Brandy.
Can we
Brandy.
say that?
Yes, Brandy.
Saa hizi ndo plan yake vile labda ndo mnaweza stick.
Karaoke. Karaoke.
Yes, we can.
Yes, karaoke.
Can we say that when we say that?
You never
Can you
can
hear me?
sleep, and you can never say that I did.
Jero.
No. Something that can never say that I did.
Excuse me.
Jere.
Yes.
When we say that it complements other sources of history,
Yeah.
Bwana uliza.
can it also mean that we cannot rely on the information it gives on its own independently?
I beg your pardon.
When we say it complements other sources of history,
Yes.
can it mean that we cannot rely on the information it gives independently, but from others too?
Now, in a
Hata
way,
sikusikii
yes.
unasema aje?
In a way, they will tend to rely on others.
Oh,
Because now,
yes.
for instance, kama ni linguistic,
Uh,
lazima ili upate hiyo vitu, lazima uta capture in your mind.
Jere.
Just record them maybe kwa
Jere.
mind yako.
yes.
So in a way they complement.
Hatujaomba.
Go hand in hand. For you to use
Thank
this
you.
one, you must in a way come across the
Yes.
other one. Yeah.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
I thank you for your time, and I beg to leave. So have a nice evening.
Yes.
Thank you,
Pull up.
sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Ngoja, go to
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
good day
you,
too.
teacher.